Okay, so as you guys are wrapping up your responses for this week, I want you to keep in mind that there are four different types of pronouns that we've covered between 111 and 112. So the first one, what we have in this chapter, is the indirect object pronoun. So to find the indirect object, we want to ask to or for whom. Keep in mind that the indirect object is the receiver of the direct object. So we have these pronouns, me, te, le, nos, and les. So they're the same pronouns that we use with gustar, because remember when we asked the question for gustar, we want to ask what is pleasing to whom. So if we say, for example, like, I like pizza, then we have to think about it as pizza is pleasing to me. So then we ask to whom it's pizza pleasing, or pizza is pleasing to whom? To me. So then I'm the recipient of the object, which in this case is the pizza. Okay, so then we have what's called the direct object pronoun. So remember, to find the direct object, we ask what or who. The direct object is the receiver of the action. The receiver of the direct object is the indirect object. So these look very similar. So we have the me, te, lo, la, nos, los, or las. So where the direct, when we get to the el and ellos forms, has to agree in gender and number, that same change does not happen with the indirect object pronoun. Okay, and then we have what's called a reflexive pronoun. So we know a verb is reflexive because it ends in se. It's like bañarse, acostarse, dormirse, afietarse. We have the me, te, se, nos, and se. So we're going to see how that me, te, and nos are the same, but there are three different types of pronouns that can function in different types of ways. So, for example, the reflexive verb requires a reflexive pronoun. We need that pronoun to reflect the action back on the subject. So if we say like, me acuesto a las 10. Okay, so then because I'm the one doing the action, the only way I'm going to know that it's the action's coming back on me is with that pronoun. So the reflexive verbs need that reflexive pronoun. They can't be used without them. Okay, and then the last thing we have are subject pronouns. So these are from 111. So we have the yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, nosotras, ellos, ellas, ustedes. So remember, overall, the subject pronoun can't be interchanged for, let's say, a reflexive pronoun or a direct object pronoun or an indirect object pronoun. Some of these look the same, but they do different things. So for example, subject pronouns just help us find the subject. So if we say, Miguel estudia en la biblioteca. Okay, so we can ask who studies. Miguel does. So what we can do is go from Miguel to he. He agrees with él. Él has to agree with the él conjugation of the verb estudiar, which is how we get the estudia. But remember, we don't want to overuse the subject pronoun in Spanish, because when we conjugate the verb, for example, like estudia, it can only agree with the él, ella, usted. And then we have reflexive pronouns. So like if we use the verb bañarse, we know the verb is reflexive because it ends in se. So we have to change that pronoun to agree with the subject. So then let's say if the subject is yo, so this is the pronoun, the subject pronoun. But yo won't be substituted, and it can't be substituted for a reflexive pronoun. So if the subject's yo, I still need to use that me. So me baño. Not quite what I was looking for. There we go. So me baño por la mañana. So the O ending, yes, it tells us that the subject's yo, but we also have to use this me to indicate that the action is coming back on me, and not that like I'm giving my kid a bath in the morning, for example. Okay, so then we have these direct object pronouns. We have the me, te, lo, la, nos, los, and las. So with reflexive pronouns, we know that we have to use it with reflexive verbs. When we use the direct object pronoun, it means that the direct object has to have already been established or talked about or mentioned. So we can't just say like, lo miras. And let's say we're asking this question to someone. So if we're asking lo miras and we just ask someone, are you watching it? They typically are going to ask that, like, watching what? Because it hasn't been established what it is. So let's say we turn this into another question first, and we want to ask, miras el programa Shark Tank. So does the person watch what? What does the person watch? What are we asking about? So remember, we have to ask what or who to find that direct object. El programa. So all of this, when we talk about the program, we want to change. So it's not just the el, the article, it's not just the noun, even the name of the TV show we want to take out. So what do we want to know? Does this person watch the show? Do they or does this person watch it? So in this case, it is the pronoun lo miras. So we go back to the original question. But remember, direct object pronouns can refer to people because we can still ask who. Okay, so then we go to the indirect object pronoun and we're asking to or from whom to find it. Typically, how we've practiced before is that sometimes there's a direct object in the sentence, and so that helps set up the indirect object because the indirect is the receiver of the direct. With the common nouns the common verbs that are used with indirect objects and indirect object pronouns makes it a little bit easier. For example, you guys have like contar, llamar, decir, dar. So for example, if I say, les doy a mis sobrinos, so there goes that a personal that sets up people, unos juguetes. Okay, so then I'm the subject, so we find the subject. Okay, so I give what? Toys, that's the direct object. Who's the receiver of the toys? I give the toys to whom? To whom do I give the toys? So remember, it's common to see this pronoun in the sentence and to see, let's find another one. There we go. It's actually it's indirect object in the same sentence as well. Les doy a mis sobrinos unos juguetes. So at this point, let's say I give them something else. Let's say I tell them a story. So I don't have to keep repeating the a mis sobrinos because that les refers back to them. Okay, so I can say, les regalo un coche, right? So I gifted them a car, but this car they have to share. So this les still goes back to the sobrinos. So if we go back to Shark Tank, mira ese programa. Okay, do you watch it? So let's say this person comes back and it's a sí. Lo miro los jueves. Let's say it comes on Thursdays. A las 8 de la noche. Okay, so what do I watch in this case? Thursdays at 8 o'clock. Lo is the direct object. Lo goes back to what? Oh, sorry, it's supposed to be red. So lo goes back to the show. So when you're trying to figure out the difference between these, figure out what it's asking, because the reflexive pronoun puts it back onto the subject. And this is why I was saying that you're not going to have the direct object pronoun be the subject. You can't have the indirect object pronoun and that be the subject, because really what you've done is put the action back onto the subject, which is what a reflexive verb does. So you want to pay attention to these different types of pronouns. They all do different things, although some of them look very similar. So if we're using a direct object pronoun, we can never use like say, for example, because say is reserved for reflexive pronouns. We can never use like nosotros for nos. Nos is not the abbreviation for nosotros. Nos is its own type of pronoun, and it does something else.